tell us about the genesis of Hayti. And before you do that, Hayti, for some of you, you kind of, it's familiar, Hayti. Why'd you name your company Hayti?
So basically, I named it Hayti because of the relevance. There were three Black Wall Streets in America. Jackson Ward, which a lot of people don't know about. Tulsa, a lot of people do know about. And then also Hayti. Hayti is a district in Durham, North Carolina, which was a very large, if not the largest, Black Wall Street that existed in America. And so I named it after Hayti, after knowing about, Black entrepreneurship that took place in Durham, North Carolina, which had hundreds of businesses. And to honor everything that they had done and to pay homage to that, I decided to name our app Hayti.
All right, take us to the lab, Carrie Willis. We get inspired to do things. Like I'm constantly inspired by our guests, by Dr. Carr, like ideas. This is how they come together, is banging up against other people who are brilliant, who say things. What was the genesis of Hayty's formation?
So I was actually at home and I read a news article. Unfortunately, I read a sad news article about the grandson of the Carolina Times. He passed in May of 2020. And I said to myself, after reading that, his family said the Carolina Times that had been around since the 1920s would no longer be around. And I said, another Black publisher is going out of business. I have to do something to try to stop this, because growing up in New York, I used to read the Amsterdam News. I used to read the Daily Challenge, even though the Daily Challenge is no longer around. And I said to myself, somebody has to do something to help these Black publishers. And I said, I'm going to do something. It happened in 2020. COVID was going on. I had a lot of time at home. And I said, let me start working with my developers. Let me put a list together of all of the Black media, podcasters, basically people creating video and Black press that exists in the nation. I want to save the Black press. And so we started development late 2020, and we did a pre-launch last year. And I have successfully started aggregating from one publisher and adding more and more. And at the end of last year, we actually broke over 200 publishers. So we are the first app that exists that aggregates over 200 Black publishers across the world.
I love it. I love it. Now, I know this is important because it was a Black newspaper that reported on the horrors of the bomb that we dropped, the nuclear bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, while the New York Times was saying, oh, it's no problem, the fallout, it's not going to hurt anyone, the radiation is minimal. It was a Black journalist who had a medical background who was like, nah, this is going to be really bad for generations. And here's the proof. We need people in the streets. Last week we had a journalist on, was it Monday? I think we had a journalist. No, it was Monday. We had a journalist from Yellow Springs, Ohio, where Dave Chappelle, all of the misinformation that was going out about Dave Chappelle trying to shut down affordable housing. We actually had a journalist who's been covering the story for 2 years from a Black newspaper in Yellow Springs, local paper. And that's important that we have people who are reporting through the lens that things are happening, who are in the streets. With the hub, we have a reporter in Brazil. We have Alan Orr, who contributes regarding what's going on with immigration, because the majority of immigrants in this country are from Black and brown places, but we don't know that. We only think about, the south of the border. But no, this is, and what's happening with them. We just developed a relationship with the Haitian Times. And so there are other outlets out there that now we are also bringing in, and of course our sports news from First and Penn. But that's the collective that we want to have, right? Where we can feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And so, as you just talked about, Black media has been at the forefront of some of the largest and biggest stories, trying to combat misinformation. I'm at a point where I said to myself, it's not just about them surviving, it's about them thriving for the next generation. And the only way to do that is to help them generate enough revenue so they can be able to stay in business. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about an ad game, right? So the majority of publishers that exist are generating revenue through advertising. And so now for the first time, you can use other apps, but I actually use my app to drive traffic from anybody who's interested in our culture, because Black culture is mainstream. So it could be us, it could be other ethnic groups. They all want to know what's going on. Well, to get it from us, get it from the source, they can get it from one mobile app. And so I drive all of these people, and by driving all of these people to these articles, to these great stories that it's actually, being written all the time, we can then be able to help these publishers generate revenue for the long haul.
I love that. As one of them. And let me just say, I started the hub not expecting at all to make any money from it, because I'm like, I'm not going to have clickbait. So I'm not going to be driven by the algorithms. So I don't care about the algorithms and the clicks. Kareem and I had this back and forth, and I'm like, I just want to do this. So I'm going to, put whatever money I need to put into it, and we'll just keep going and keep growing. And as we grow, we can hire more people. Shout out to Terry Igioma, who's like, I'm going to donate to that. And I haven't even done the work to go out to get people to donate, because it's a nonprofit, but I'm eventually going to do that too. But right now, that click algorithm ad game is, I think, has destroyed media in many ways.
So you're talking about the algorithm. Everybody uses basically on their app, they're using social media. And so they decide, i.e. the large companies decide what's going to show up in your feed. Just because you follow, a particular publisher doesn't mean that their content is going to show up in your feed. If that publisher is not paying oftentimes to push their content, getting that article in your feed for you to read that article is going to be a difficult process for them. And so I've taken that basically out of the equation. Why? Because on the Hayti app, basically all Black publishers are in your feed. And so you're going to make sure that you're not going to get the clickbait stuff. You're going to get stuff that you care about, that you basically want to read and you want to be able to share with your friends and family. In addition to that, you can customize your content feed. If you don't want a certain publisher on the platform, you can take them out. If you don't want a particular topic, you can take that out. And as you can see from the app, we have content from Africa, the HBCU content, sports, business, faith and family. We have a wide variety of content for everybody. And so it's where you can get, all Black media, Black podcasters, Black videos from folks creating video content, and all of the Black press that exists across America as well. Oftentimes we find, a lot of people, a lot of people don't even realize that locally, they're local Black publishers to get local stories and news and information. You want to go out tonight, you want to find something? We have the Philadelphia Tribune in Philadelphia, the Washington Informer. And so it goes on and on.
As users, because we're all about ease, we're all about convenience. I downloaded Hayti really quickly. I could do it through Apple, through Google. You made it. So, how did you make it so easy to put on? And then how do you suggest we engage with the app on a daily basis? Because that's really, it has to become a habit, right? It has to become your go-to. I know most of my students, actually all of them, they get their news from their phone, from an app. They don't read a newspaper. They're using it from an aggregator, either Apple or Google, and that's where they get their news every day. How do we make Hayti the go-to for us?
So obviously, I'm looking to grow organically. I've spent the time and I took the time to make sure that this was going to be an easy process. I wanted to be able to create something free. First of all, let's just put that out there. This is a free app where you can get access to all this information. And as you talked about, it's on iOS, it's on Android. And so there's no excuse. If you support the Black press and you support Black media, this is your opportunity to basically download a free app where you get access to all of the Black media that you can want and need. You can be able to make sure that Black publishers stay in business, and they can be able to monetize their platforms to generate revenue. So when these kids are coming out of college, they're majoring in media and journalism, they're coming out, they're figuring out, where am I going to work when I graduate? They can have the opportunity to help us be able to scale Black media. So when they come out, they can work for the next Black publisher that exists.
We're calling for athletes to go to HBCUs. Why don't we call for our best and brightest journalists to go to Black papers? Because a story is a story. I tell my students, I teach entertainment journalism, but I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's just, I've covered music, sports, fires, courts. I've covered courts. I've covered business, all manner of crime, murder, and it's just journalism. So if you're a good journalist, you can cover anything. And I think the most powerful journalists find the stories no one's looking for. Like, it's easy to me to write about Britney Spears, who just signed a $15 million contract for a book, for a tell-all, or it's easy to talk about, Idris Elba leaving. He's just said he's going to be leaving acting to focus full-time on electronic music and DJing. What? Those stories are easy. Doing a story about the Black couple that filed a lawsuit with the DOJ, and the DOJ coming in and intervening in Tanisha Tate Austin and Paul Austin's San Francisco. We talked about the story on the air, but it was a story in a local space that became national because it was so egregious that their home was appraised for almost $500,000 less than when they had a white person stand in. But these stories are happening all over the country. So
they're happening.
Come on.
I was going to say, yeah, that's the issue. They're happening all over the country, and we have no idea, the extent of that until you actually get it from our perspective, a Black perspective. And so, for the first time, like I said, now, you don't have to search from app to app and go from site to site to look for information. I've aggregated all of this underneath one roof, one mobile app, and you can be able to look at everything by category. We've made sure that all of the content that we're pulling in, everything gets categorized and by particular topic. And so we want to make it easy for you to find the articles and the information that's relevant to you. And so those stories that you talk about, that basically a lot of them go unheard of. The large ones that you find out about in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal that they report, how many more of those stories are being, happening on a daily basis? And the local Black publishers and the Black press, they're writing about those. And so now's the time to make a push to support the Black press.